So Will, we've come to a site here in Shropshire in England.
Yeah.
It's one of your projects that you've done. It's ARK Agriculture is the company you work with.
That's right, yeah.
So this is a common project you're at. Could you describe what we're looking at here?
Yep, so this is a project built about 4 years ago. ARK Agriculture specialises in silage storage. So silage clamps, silage covers, secure covers and gravel bags. This project was built basically for a large dairy unit. It's based around two sloping walled silage clamps, which is our patented design. No back walls, and we've got maize in the right hand side clamp, and in this clamp here I think is first cut grass. The unique elements are obviously the sloping wall with the earth bank, which allows for safe access in the middle and on the two sides, and the use of an asphalt base, which is something that isn't that particularly common. Asphalt we find is really effective at basically creating a silage clamp base. It's easy to install, very simple to work with, no expansion joints, and the silage quality he produces here is brilliant. So it's kind of a really good example of where all the ingredients have come together to make a safer, more efficient, and better silage quality design silage clamp.
Yeah, very good. So if you had a conventional silage pit here with your vertical walls, what advantages do you have, or in your mind, does your system have over a conventional wall?
So there's several different things that have come up in the last couple of years regarding vertical walls. The first thing is safety. So you can leave your gravel bags and your items all up along the wall there. When you're uncovering the clamp, you can walk up and down the slopes to safely access the silage. The second thing is the slopes allow compaction against the wall. So your tractor tyre can run closer to the wall than perhaps on a vertical wall. And you'll see that on the shoulders. So the shoulder compaction is always really good. The next thing that is becoming increasingly important is the structure of the clamp is so strong due to the size of the earth banks, it doesn't fail under the weight of modern machinery, which is a real challenge with vertical walls at the moment. So we keep building sort of the traditional vertical wall with I-beams and concrete panels, but the weight of contractors' machinery gets heavier and heavier, and they increasingly become under more and more pressure. So with this design, there's a lot more security about the longevity of it, because at the end of the day, you've got to move a whole earth bank or a hillside effectively to even touch the panels and make the panels move. So it's, the biggest advantage over a vertical wall is safety, efficiency, and basically longevity. I think those are the angles we're coming at.
Okay, so what size clamps are we looking at here?
These are two 1,500 ton clamps. That's maize there. Grass here. I think they're 12 metres wide and 50 metres long.
Okay. The height typically then that you go for? What height wall typically?
So these are 3 metre high wall panels, which will allow for a fill height in the middle of a clamp like this. It depends on the width of the clamp, but a typical sort of maximum fill height is 6 metres. So in theory you could fill this clamp 6 metres high, which gives you a huge amount more capacity than a vertical wall where you'd have to level fill or basically manage it that way around.
Okay, so you've no back wall in this either, is that right?
That's right. So it's actually 4 walls which create 2 bays, no back wall. No back wall means no corners, so no areas which are hard to get compaction into. It means you can access the other end of the clamp. So if you wanted to empty it from that end the other way round, so you put first cut in the front, you've still got some third cut in the back, you can do that. It's obviously more cost effective. You're not paying for a rear wall, and those are sort of some of the advantages. So we really don't. We try not to put back walls in clamps unless we have to.
Right. Okay. The construction process then, am I right in saying the civils are done by a local contractor, are they?
That's right. So ARK supply the system, which includes the drainage behind the panel, the way the panels are installed, the specific panels for these clamps. So they're specifically designed for for silage clamps. And then what happens is we've got a sort of network of local contractors across the UK who can either basically they can build it for you, or we provide comprehensive instructions which can go to anyone, and because it's such a simple system, anyone in the UK with a sort of background in groundworking can build it themselves, and even in some cases farmers are doing it, but obviously it's time dependent and skills dependent. Okay,
and typically the timescale to build a project like this?
So yeah, a project like this, if you're in a real hurry, you could do it in 4 weeks, but normally between 6 and 8 weeks.
Okay.
And that's sort of from day one to finish. So on the last day of the 8th week, you could actually fill the clamp and start using it. which is a big difference to maybe a conventional clamp where you have to allow for concrete foundations to cure and stuff. This whole clamp is ready to go in sort of 8 weeks is pretty good going, you know, around that sort of time scale.
Drainage wise on this here, then everything is falling in one direction, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So another great thing about asphalt is we can slope the asphalt base into the middle, and we can slope it from the back to the front. So a typical slope would be 2%, so it's 2% higher at that end, obviously down to the front here, and then it will slope into the middle. So if it was producing leachate, which it isn't because the silage is so good, you know, bad quality silage makes leachate, good quality silage is good, you know, doesn't. What you'd actually see is the leachate travelling down the middle of the clamp, which is well away from the concrete panels and any exposed joints. It really just makes the whole system a lot more protected, and it's a lot more thought out perhaps than just pouring a big slab.
Okay.
Yeah, so we think about all these different things, I suppose, in the design process.
Okay, and a lot of the material inside, say in the middle there, is that basically excess soil is created from the construction or the excavation aspect of it, or?
Yeah, definitely. So to get those levels, you obviously remove quite a lot of material, and below the asphalt is crushed concrete. So all of that will go into the banks, and then behind the panels is a layer of gravel, and on the gaps as well is a layer of gravel. So that's what you can see. But if you were to cut that in half, you'd have a core of a clay or fairly substantial material, and then on each side is a layer of gravel, and the same on both sides and in the middle. Okay.
In terms of your market then, say in the UK, it's a mix of, say, the dairy sector and AD plants, is it, or what's the breakdown of it?
Yeah, no, so initially it was all AD plants, which is where the initial sort of concept came from, because they could understand the benefits of doing this. Increasingly, AD in the UK has boomed in the last sort of decade, and then slowly is sort of tailing off, as it was expected to do. And in the meantime, the dairy industry has seen the opportunities and advantages of this sort of design. So we're doing a lot more dairy and livestock farmers with this system, and basically tailoring it to what they need. So smaller scale, if they need smaller scale.
Okay. So we might have a look at the proof of the pudding, I suppose, over here in terms of what's being conserved. And
a lot of it comes down to husbandry, so it's the farmer's attitude towards storage. But the clamp design helps as well as the sheeting, and probably the biggest thing is if you look at the shoulders. Yeah. So there's a very, very small amount of waste, particularly here, and there's almost zero surface waste. And then if you were to go and touch the silage, it'd be cold. You know, the smell is really good. And again, what we said about leachate, there's no leachate being produced at all, compared to, say, you know, a lot of bad silage where it'd be smelly, hot, wet. You know, this is really A-star quality. You know,
as you were saying, it's probably if a pit is easier to cover and it's safe, people tend to do a better job. They'll stay up there longer.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if the covers are to blow off, it's a hell of a lot easier to put them back on in this scenario. Yeah. And you can, because you're not sort of trying to stop falling off the edges, you can pay attention to getting the edges tight, and obviously, you know, contractors can fill it better because they feel safer on it. So it's kind of the jigsaw. This is just one of the parts of the jigsaw, but you get this right, and then all the other bits, you know, mesh really well around the outside of it. So you know, that's why we're so keen on getting this design right and improving on what we're doing at the moment.
So in terms of its availability, it's primarily the mainland UK is where you're offering this as such, is it?
It is the mainland UK. We'd be interested to talk to anyone in Ireland who's interested to learn more about the system. But at the moment, we go up to Aberdeen, and we go down into Devon, Cornwall, and we go across to Shropshire like here. So we cover the whole area. Yeah. And we'll be delighted to show anyone who's interested a clamp in their area. We've got 150 to 200 in the UK now. Okay. So yeah.
So what else are ARK Agriculture involved with?
So ARK Agriculture started with the sloping wall panels. We now do vertical walls as well. Yeah. So what we said about the vertical walls and the loadings, and we've basically gone out and found the future version of a vertical wall, which is a big L panel, which is specifically designed for silage. So it's designed for specific tractor weights, completely different design to anything else that you've built in a vertical wall in the past. And that's for people who have to have vertical walls. So if you've got two sheds, you need to build it in between two. 2 or 3 years ago, we bought the company called Secure Covers, who do the nets, the green netting, and the gravel bags. And in the meanwhile, we do a single layer silage film called an oxygen barrier or high oxygen barrier sheet. Ours is called OxySeal. We're not using them on this site at the moment, though they are using our sidewall films. It just depends on what works for you and your different situations, I suppose. So what we try and do is the whole package: silage clamps, all the covers you need, all the advice you need.
Okay. And approximately a cost per cube for a site like this?
It's so site dependent and obviously distance dependent for manufacturing, but you might want to say per metre cubed is a good measure, and obviously a metre cubed is basically a square metre of storage space within the clamp, between maybe £50, 45 to £50. It can be significantly reduced or increased depending on where you are in the country and what material you have to build the banks with. So.
Right.
You know, it's totally dependent on what you're trying to achieve, I suppose.
Okay, yeah. And is it fair to say there's a lot of pressure coming on farms in the UK in terms of how they're managing conserving their feed and how they're managing effluent?
Yeah, so the sort of three pressures, one is health and safety. The second one is silage efficiency. So, you know, are you actually storing your silage as well as you can? And obviously this is an example of how well you can do it. The third pressure is from the Environment Agency and the set of rules called the SAFO regs. The Environment Agency are basically looking at farms at the moment and saying slurry stores and silage clamps are high risk areas. The age of a silage clamp in the UK is sort of well over 40 years, so they're often overfilled because everything else has improved but the clamp hasn't.
Well, thanks for your time here today.
That's all right, no worries.
It's great to see it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye.